For a couple of years now. Nigel Calder is one of the founders of Lincoln County Indivisible. He's best known worldwide as an author and expert on sailing craft that sail the deep ocean, and specifically on repair of such vessels in need. If you sail and you're in a boat like that, you've probably got Nigel's book on the shelf somewhere. But he's also been a long-term activist. I call him my favorite pirate, Nigel Calder.
Thank you, Stephen. So I'm a writer, I'm not an orator, and I'm actually fearful of public speaking. So this is quite a thing for me to get up today in front of all of you here. And I want to speak a little bit about what we can do locally to bring this nightmare to an end. But before I do that, I want to recognize Suzanne Hedrick down here, who's 93, who's been on all of our local rallies. She's been in front of the library, the post office. Thank you, Suzanne, you're an inspiration. And I'd also like to recognize the young people we have here today.
Yes.
Wonderful to see you. We're tired of looking at gray hair. So the first time I addressed a crowd like this was I had just sparked a college occupation. And I had to get up and speak at the meeting, and I was so nervous I ended up supporting the opposing resolution, which totally confused the whole meeting. So I'm well outside of my comfort zone here, but anyway, I'll press on. So I'd like to start first with a story about my parents. My parents were born 4 days apart in June 1914. They were 19 when Hitler seized power in Germany. They were 25 when the Second World War started. My father was a pacifist. He volunteered as an army medic so that he could do his bit to fight fascism without carrying a gun. My mother signed up for the nursing corps. They met and fell in love right on the eve of the war, and then my father was sent off with the British Expeditionary Force to France, and which was crushed by the German Wehrmacht. He was behind the German lines during Dunkirk, so unable to escape. My mother was on a hospital train dealing with the worst of the burn victims from Dunkirk, of which there were many because of the ships being sunk and the fuel burning in the water while they were scrambling off the beaches. She had no idea if my father was dead or alive, wounded or captured. He struggled across northern France for a couple of weeks and escaped from Normandy, and they met again briefly, which was the last time they met before the end of the war. He was shipped off to North Africa and the North African campaign, and then he was in an abortive invasion of Greece, and he was wounded and captured and spent the rest of the war in a German prison camp. They met again in 1945, and they got married, and I was born in 1948. So what's the point of this story? I mean, there's the obvious one about fascism, but the thing that I remember most, growing up, my parents would not talk about the war. They did not want to relive that experience. But what they did talk about was good Germans, fundamentally decent people who did not stop Hitler when they still had a chance to do it. They stood on the sidelines until it was too late. We have tens of millions of good Americans in this country. We have thousands of them in Lincoln County. They are fundamentally decent people who are not here with us today. They need to be here. We need to find a way to communicate with them, and we need them to bring them here with us. I think most of you have heard of the 3.5% theory, that if you can put 3.5% of the population in the streets, you can change the entire dynamic of the political situation. We have 36,000 residents in Lincoln County. 3.5% of that is 1,200. We have over 800 people here today. We are 2/3 of the way to doing that. We need to see this happen all over the country. So how are we going to get to those other people? Well, in Lincoln County Indivisible, we've been working on the assumption that we have shared values with those people we need to talk to. We just have to find a way of communicating at the level of those shared values. That's why we put people outside of all 22 post offices in Lincoln County. We all love our post offices. We have a shared value there. We put people outside of all of our libraries. We all love our libraries. We have a shared value there. So it puts us in the streets with leaflets. We can talk to people. The passing cars can blow their horns. We can start to communicate. The one issue that I think right now, before many of the Trump cuts really kick in, before they start going after Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, the one huge issue we've got is hunger in Lincoln County. Maine has the highest levels of hunger in New England. The government has is going to cut the SNAP program. 1 in 8 of our families relies on the SNAP program for groceries. They're cutting the funding to the food pantries they already have. We're losing half of the support for the food pantries. They're cutting the funding to the farmers. There are numerous grants that the Department of Agriculture has already issued. The farmers have spent the money and they haven't paid, and they're not going to pay. There was a big rally in Augusta on Wednesday of farmers in their tractors. It was a wonderful sight to see. So they're taking to the streets. So, we're going to hold a public meeting in the Second Congregational Church in Newcastle on May the 8th, 5:30 to 7:30. We'd like to see many of you there, although there's no way we can fit you all in the church, but that's fine. We'll have a rally outside the church. So, and we're going to use it to kick off a campaign combating hunger in Lincoln County, and we're going to be handing out leaflets outside of the food pantries and the farmers markets and the grocery stores, connecting the hunger issue with the cuts that the Trump administration is making. So I'll read you, where did those leaflets go? Anyway, I'll read you. I think these are not partisan. We don't name Trump. We say, no matter how you voted, no one voted to raise grocery prices, to cut healthy school meals, to defund food pantries, to pull the plug out from under local farmers, to end federal food assistance, and to increase hunger. And then the tagline is, hunger in Maine is funding billionaire tax cuts. I have a bunch of these here today. I'd like you to take some home. I don't have enough for everybody, but if you know a neighbor that you can hand it to, if you have a library that'll post it on the bulletin board, if you have a store that'll put it next to the till, we have some stores doing that, come grab a couple from me before you go home.
Can we print them?
And then if you want more, my email is nigel.calder, my name, Nigel, .calder, @gmail.com. Email me, I'll print as many as you want. So the last time I addressed a meeting this size, I was a minor union organizer in the largest car factory in Europe. We had 20,000 people worked in that car factory. We had a dispute in our section. My little group walked out, and 1,000 people from the assembly shop followed us out. So I was expecting the senior stewards to come up and address the crowd. I didn't realize they were all off the plant that day at a national meeting. So I was 24, I was totally out of my depth, I didn't know what to do, so my natural knee-jerk reaction was to say, let's occupy the factory. They did. It shut down the largest car factory in Europe. So the management freaked, but the union freaked. Not our shop stewards, not our senior stewards, but the union bureaucrats freaked, and because they were totally freaked out by this action, they wrecked the strike and we lost the strike. We have the same problem today with our leadership in DC. The Democrats have been utterly pathetic in leading a fight against what we're up against. I believe we have to win this ourselves. It is up to us to win this. We have a new generation of young leadership in Maine, Shanna Bellows, who unfortunately can't come today because she's got some emergency came up. But she's going to be running for governor. And then we have Jordan Wood, who's going to speak after me, who represents another young generation of activists in D.C. Collectively, we can build the movement we need. Just look around now. We are doing it today and every day, but we have almost no time to complete this job. So we really have to get out there. We have to get all of us beyond our comfort zones. We have to get our neighbors and those people that voted for Trump that are now beginning to wonder what they voted for. We have to get them outside of their comfort zones to where they'll join us in the streets so that in the next 3 or 4 months we can shut down this coup before it gets consolidated. So thank you all for coming. Thank you. You're doing a wonderful job.